Brazil, which is a movie about the Brazilian government making a declaration that all African Americans need to be deported back to Africa because that's where they were.
Nah, it's not African Americans. It's people with dark
It's,
skin.
yeah, dark skin, anyone who looks like
Who
high
looks like,
mountain.
right. Anyone who they think looks like someone of African American descent has to go back to Africa. So plenty of light-skinned people could maybe have African American attributes, but because their skin was white, then they were allowed to stay. So it was all 100% about skin color only.
And so the first scary thing about this is this could happen in today's day and age, and I find it completely bizarre that we live in a world where something like this could actually happen. I find it bizarre we live in a world with racism, period. But like the other thing I find interesting is that you don't think about racism outside of the States. I don't think about it. I don't know if you guys think it's. I didn't think it was a worldwide problem. I thought, when you're especially in like a South American country where everyone has darker skin, there'd be no problems. But it was interesting to see that racism seems to just be an issue everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. I don't understand why people can't just. I mean, why are you judged by the color of your skin? I don't understand it. I never have. I never will. I don't get it.
Well, and you and I are white, so we can understand it from a white person's perspective who has an issue with it because we are not racist, right? So we can say, I can read about it. I can look at fucking genocide. I can look at history and I can watch this movie and I can understand what the message is. But yeah, I will never understand what it's like to be treated the way that these people are treated. Racism is a global issue within the same cultures. So it's like, I thought it was interesting how I've never seen it done this way. Like I've watched a lot of documentaries and movies on genocide, actually. Horrible. But I've never seen it to where they just only cared about the color of the skin. It had nothing to do with anything else. None of these people were white. They're Brazilian. I mean, they're all Brazilian. But because their skin was white, they were allowed to stay. And so I understand that message, but I'm only going to understand it from a white person's perspective who doesn't feel this way. And on that level, yeah, I don't fucking get it either. I love all people, all cultures. It kills me in a way that it should. And it's hard to talk about. And that movie was so upsetting. I'll stop because I know you had more to say and I kind of cut you off. I thought it was going to go a different way, but
yeah, it doesn't exactly have the happiest of endings, but I also wonder.
No, it did. Like the story ended very feel good, but then the message went on, which is not feel good. But the actual story, I thought the whole thing was gonna derail into blood and people were gonna be fucking dying left and right. So
there were a lot of relevant things in the movie that we've witnessed in ourselves. Like it opens up with Antonio, who is a lawyer, and his wife is Caputa. Is that how we said it? Capitu. She's a doctor. So he is going to the Brazilian Senate to talk about these issues as he represents the high melanin society. And not a single person is in that Senate watching. When he's doing this speech and you're seeing all this thing and you're really engaged, and as it zooms out, you realize no one showed up for this because they don't care. And we've seen that happen in our own Senate. Like, it's just so sad how real the politics in this are because we're living, and we've seen it ourselves in the past 5 years. It's also that notion to me that something has to change. Because also in the movie, I don't know if you noticed, the people who were really for this were a bunch of older people, and all the people fighting against it were all young. So there was that clear divide because that's what we have. We have an old guard who's set in their old ways, and the new guard who wants to progress things. And there's that dividing line, and the old guard's still in charge. And this movie showed you that and kind of punched you in the face with it, like, you've seen this, now you just got to deal with it. So I thought that was a really interesting concept. My biggest problem with this movie is it feels like it was filmed by three different crews because they do some really awesome shots, and then you get these really weird shots focusing on people's mouths, and then you get this weird like montage thing going on, and then you get these awesome shots, and then you get this weird like the whole ending was just bizarre. This weird montage music video thing, completely out of place. Felt, I got it, but it was just not in line with the rest of the film. Like their cinematography went from, you could tell, a really good team to like the B team to the C team. And to me, that was a little jarring because the most prominent example was at the beginning of the movie when they were in the apartment talking about the one song. And the camera kept focusing on like their mouth and then panning up to the nose and then down to the chin. It's like, I don't understand this at all. And then you went back to these awesome shots after that.
I wonder, and I mean, this would require research. I wonder if it was filmed by a number of different crews. And also, I think there's a talk with the makers of this film. I'd be interested in learning why they did film it the way that they did. Because, yeah, I thought it was, now I don't have a problem with, I guess, what you might be saying where it was like mismatched. But I'm also like, I like it, like, because to me the message was still clear. But yeah, I did notice that it seemed to me that a number of people had a vision for the film and they kind of put it all in there in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, and I had this disconnect when I was getting into the story when it would happen, because it's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense, like this extended period. There's a lot of things I think could have been edited out, some tighter editing, and most of it had to do with these weird shots that were very artistic and different that didn't really fit in with the rest of the story they were telling. So on that aspect, that's really the only problem I had with the film, because it had, when it was on, it had some serious on moments. Like her speech in the trial.
Oh my God.
Was so well done. It's made such an impactful statement.
I was crying. What an amazing actress. Oh my God.
And then it is followed up by the single most important scene of the movie, which demonstrated that racism is brought on by fear on both sides, because you're following the cousin getting caught in the other apartment and the white guy trying to escape the black encampment, and they're mimicking each other.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
And the fear and everything happening, because each side has the pros and cons, the people who want it, the people who don't want it. You go to the black encampment, it's the people who are afraid and the people who are trying to progress. Both of them converging, and it's like watching these two, like this was so well written and filmed, that it made this super impactful statement that racism brings on fear, which brings out the worst of us, and it's brought on by each other. And
but in that scene where that was very clear, it was very clear, a mirroring scene to the beat of the pew pew pew. I don't want to give everything away, although pew 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 gives a lot away. But the people who were in the encampment, who were their own their cause, they had every right to be afraid of the white man, especially when they found the badge working for the government. The fear on the other side, people who were told to be afraid of people with dark skin, that was societal. And that was totally fucking nonsense.
That was, but it was a fear-based racism in the black camp that started to erupt at that point in time. Because
for good reason, though.
Good reason, but at the end of the day, they didn't listen to the black boyfriend or the voices of reason. they were overcome by fear of white men, which is
Right,
still
but what? But look at what had just like they'd all been ripped apart from their
yeah.
families and children.
So
I feel
that
like
is
one
the
was justified and the other one wasn't at all.
yeah, that was a symbiotic thing that they were telling you. Fear causes this to happen, and this happens because of racism. It was a very clever way for them to say this all just needs to stop.
Well, sure, yeah, that was clear. Fucking
That
definitely.
was very clear, and their message of the symbiotic between fear and racism and the growing things was great. I think that whole two scenes right there make this movie 100% worth it, even with the weird camera angles.
Yeah,
Um,
it was good.
I, I didn't expect to be this serious and impactful, and I didn't think that I don't like. I think the rest of the world is a little more evolved when it comes to society sometimes, and I don't think that they have the same types of racism, but they do, and it's just to that point of the politicians encourage it, and it's just a never-ending cycle, and someone has to break it. So I didn't quite understand the woman who let him get away at the end, and how they pulled it all off that way, but I did love the punch and slap. That was awesome.
Yeah, and that to me, so like I do not think that fit with the film at all, and it's kind of for what you were saying before, where it's like the film at times was like super 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 serious, and I was like, oh, everybody's gonna die, everybody's gonna die. And then it had these like the end was so unrealistic because the second
Yes.
he came down, they both would have been shot. They both would have been shot. But
Yeah.
one guy got the punch in, she got the slap in. I was like, okay, this makes me feel better. And then they had a very Hollywood getaway, which
Yeah.
I'm rooting for because I want them to win, but I'm also going, all right, well, that was very cute. But then I'm slapped in the face again by the end, which it's like, okay, we gave you a feel good ending. Here's the message, and this is still really awful. And so that grounded me a little bit more because the punch in this, I was like, all right, I appreciate y'all making me feel better, but okay, but
That
I
was the
still
point
liked
where I
it.
was like, the ending is here, and then it went into that weird music video montage thing, and I was like, okay, the movie's done. But I must say, bravo to whoever played Inspector Isabel, because you have a loathing on my part on the part of Dolores Umbridge. Like
Yes.
you portrayed a horrible human being way too easily.
She was
Like
awful.
awful, awful people.
And she did not look white at all. She was very ethnic looking. But again, she had light skin.
Yeah, so this was a mind of a movie. It was interesting, but like these, like the weird ending and these weird shots, I think it would have been probably if they had handled it more serious, like if they had just let the A team handle everything, we probably would have gotten a more cohesive movie that didn't feel quite so long. They probably would have ended it when he came out and they hugged. Like they probably would have ended it right there, not done the whole music video, happy trails into the sunset thing, while the world's still fucked up. Like there would have been an actual ending where like the UN would have gotten involved or something. Um, yeah, it was.
Or even like I love indie films that look like they're shot on lower quality video. Like I don't need any of my films to look like, you know, uh like the cameras were all super expensive. Like I
Yeah,
don't mind. I love grain. I like a lot of movies with like super grainy and probably heavily filtered, really. But I wouldn't have minded that. That to me would have had a more realistic feel. But yeah, there was a lot of inconsistency with the filming techniques and the direction of super lighthearted and then like, oh no no no, and then oh wow, they made it real cute. But I mean, that all being said, the message was really clear and it was really terrifying.
Yes, yes, it was. So that was executive order from Brazil. Definitely something you should watch if you have a shot, but just be prepared to sit through it. And yeah, it is kind of hard to watch it a lot of the parts, like when they're hunting everybody down, like when they busted into the hospital and the dude's getting ready to be, worked on, and they pull the doctor and nurse out, like he just left, like what the fuck?
Like, what happened to his leg?
Yeah, like he's just like, what am I gonna do now? Like,
And he's totally drugged, and he's just kind of like looking around, like,
And then there's this scene in the woods between a black woman and her daughter who is very young, and it's heartbreaking, but it is a heavy movie, and it is very serious, and it's very real. Like I said at the start, this is something that could honestly to God happen, and that frightens me more than anything else.
Well, kids being pulled away from their families. We don't need to get into crazy politics right now, but
Yeah.
kind of sort of happened in a way.
Yeah, and it could be a lot worse. So I hate the fact I have to say that. It could be worse, but
right, but yeah.
So that was this film. Our next one is Romeo #Juliet. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it because I haven't even told Jessica about it. We're gonna see how far into it we get.
Yeah, don't say anything. I want to know why you're saying that.
I love the story of Romeo and Juliet. I love Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. That's one of my favorite takes on it ever. And then we're going to be watching some more shorts. We still have Oxy Kings and Broadcasting Uninterrupted tonight. So,
and there's I forget the exact title of it, but it's a documentary about Selma Blair, who's one of my heroes. And so I definitely want to make sure that we watch that too.
Yeah,
or at least I'm going to watch it.
We've got 4 days of you guys doing this with us, so we'll get all this stuff in and tell you what you're missing out on film-wise, music-wise, session-wise, maybe comedy-wise, because there's comedy as well. So we'll be back in a few hours. We're going to take a quick break, get ready for another movie, and then we'll be back with you after that.